Hey there, guys. Welcome back. This is Career Growth Made Easy, and I'm your host, Craig Ansell. This is episode 13, Extreme Words, Always and Never. Before we get started with that content for today, we've knocked out a dozen episodes. Thank you so much for all the regular listeners out there. We really appreciate you. One thing we'd like to ask, do something special for us. Can you give us some feedback? Talk to us about the episodes you like the most and the ones you like the least. We're interested in helping you. That is our entire mission with this podcast and our website. So send us some feedback. You can do it at craigansell.com/feedback. There should be a small form up there that you can just fill out and send us your information. We're curious how the episodes are helping you, which ones you like the most, and again, those that maybe weren't so useful to you. Back to the show. If I told you that this entire series was about communication, I'd probably really drop your interest. You'd dropping me like a hot rock, right? Well, there's so many different ways we communicate, and in this episode, it is all about communication, but with the specific focus on extreme words, always and never. Here's some examples where you might find always and never in play. You always leave your shoes out. You never shut the lights off in a room when you're done. You never lock the door when you come home. You always leave your plate out on the table. Those are just some examples, guys, but this obviously can affect us in our relationships. It's such a big deal out there that author John Gray created a New York Times bestseller, and it was called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. We'll put a link to the book in the show notes. Now, we're going to explore these extreme words. In doing so, this will help you in your personal life, and if it's applied correctly, it can boost your job performance as well. We'll explore that next. Typically, when these extreme words are used, they're indicators of repeat issues, whether they're real or perceived. What I mean by that is, real actually happened. It may be very frequently or nearly even all the time. Perceived could be that it happened one or more times, but it bothered the person so much that they keep it at the forefront of their memory, and it's easy to recall if it happens again. Unfortunately, we can get emotional and get triggered when these extreme words are used, both in personal settings and professional. The recipient can take the words literally, meaning always, it happens absolutely every time, and never, it's not even been done once. For personal settings, I've learned from books, like I mentioned before, and what I decided to do over time was to bite my tongue and not emotionally respond when those trigger words came up. It wasn't easy. It takes a lot of practice, certainly takes a lot of patience, and a lot of time. All along the way, I'm growing emotionally. For personal situations, I started to remember when or what the extreme words were tied to, such as, I always leave my shoes out. I never shut the lights off. I always leave the front door unlocked. I moved from reacting emotionally and responding emotionally to physical actions, putting my shoes away, shutting the lights off, and locking the door when I come home most times. In a past episode, in fact, I talked about reducing stress, and stress can come from the feeling of overwhelm when you have so many activities and so many actions and to-do lists running around in your head. Well, this would be a perfect example. Instead of thinking, oh, great, I can't wait until somebody complains about X, Y, or Z, I'm going to take the action since they've commented before. I caught the trigger words, always or never, and put those items away or take that action so that doesn't get brought up. Remember, in personal settings, when someone uses extreme words, such as always and never, it probably does not mean every single time or none of the time. It's just a sign or a trigger that bothers them, and they see a high frequency of this occurring, and they choose those extreme words. If we switch around to our work life, we can expand on this as well. When you hear a conversation going on, and someone uses those key words, those trigger words, always and never, there's usually something behind it. meaning the problem has likely happened before, potentially frequently. Here's an example. Let's say they're shipping a toolkit somewhere and the toolkit doesn't come with the right parts in it. Someone might respond and say, "We never get the right wrenches with our toolkit." Again, it probably happened once or more, and that person's been affected by it negatively, so they harbor that in the back of their minds. These emotional words can help us in our personal lives, as explained before, but also in our professional lives, because if we learn to use them to our advantage, we can help our companies grow, and it can help us also be recognized for the right reasons. By knowing these extreme words, you can put practices into place at work that, one, stop you from reacting emotionally if somebody calls you on the carpet and makes a statement to you about you always this or you never that. And number two, put your detective hat on and figure out what's the basis, what's the foundation for them using these quote, quote, extreme trigger words. Now, as a small bonus, I'll tell you, I sometimes call these extreme words money words. Now, if that sounds funny, let me explain. Some companies out there have recognition programs or rewards programs for people that make suggestions and improve things such as health, safety, environment, maybe a process, or cut costs, or come out with a new product or a new service offering. Well, when you hear the words always and never, those extreme words, I'm trying to drill a point home here, guys, there's usually money on the table. You can have a conversation with whoever brought those words up after your meeting, kind of do a sidebar with them and say, "Hey, Joe, listen, I wanted to understand a little bit more about the problem that you brought up the other day." Or, "Hey, listen, I understood that you mentioned something about a toolkit not having the right parts in it." They'll probably elaborate, they'll probably expand, and in doing so, you'll recognize what the true problem is. If you're likely to use that toolkit again, for example, you might want to work with the person and say, "Hey, let's submit a recommendation for that as a team idea because we're going to use this kit again and we want the right parts to be in it." Or if you run into a situation where, the parking lot lights are always burned out and it's hard to see at night, or the parking lot lights always come on late after daylight savings time because I don't think they're adjusted, that again is a trigger situation, and you can relate to that. So maybe offer a safety recommendation to get a timer adjusted. The point, guys, here is just really focusing on extreme words, trigger words. There's a lot out there that we can use to our benefit. In fact, when I hear them, I react in the ways that I told you, and I explore deeper. Now, truth be told, sometimes I use those extreme words because I do get emotional as well. I stop myself, kind of laugh. It's an extended pause, and I say, "Excuse me, I meant in this case," or "frequently this has happened," or "I observed this the other day, and I'm not sure if it has occurred before." So it's kind of a fun game to look for those words and test them out right after you hear this podcast and see how it goes. I'm wishing you the absolute best success in 2020, reminding you this has been Craig Ansell from Career Growth Made Easy podcast, where we turn problems into potential and issues into opportunities. Please share us with a friend or family member. And also, go to craigansell.com, feedback, let us know what you liked and what you didn't. We're here to help. Peace. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel. New episodes every Monday. In the meantime, why don't you follow us on social media at Craig Ansell on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To book a coaching appointment, download our free guides, or join our email list, check out the links in the description below.